Hey there, this video is going to walk through this email and SMS capture workflow that targets new and unidentified visitors with a discount offer in exchange for information about their preferences and their email and phone number. So we'll go ahead and use this template, and then we're taken into the workflow builder immediately. And this is where you will set the conditions that should trigger this pop-up and then set the design itself, along with any other kind of if-then branches you want to create a full experience. So we're just going to click onto this design tile. I'm going to get into edit and we will hop into the design studio. And this is where we will update anything that lives in this template to make it a little bit more branded or just more in sync with what our website looks like. So we can change things like the copy, the buttons, images, anything you like. So we'll focus on the main items here like copy. I'm just double clicking in here and maybe I just want to add a little bit of urgency. So I'm adding in that, but you see the spacing updates a tiny bit. So here on the right-hand side, we can update the typography settings. And under size, I'm just going to use my down arrow and update that and take us maybe to, 50 looks great. Next up, we have our images. So we can update that by clicking on the image, and then we'll go to the right-hand side and we'll see we can have the option to replace image. So if we replace that, we can use any of the photos that we've already preloaded to our account, or we can hop into the stock photos and search up anything that we want. So here, I'm just going to be a pet brand, for example. Let's just use something like this. I can add that to my asset library, and then you'll see immediately it shows up there. And then to actually use it in that design, we can go ahead and select that, and then that replaces the selected image. Now, let's move on into the buttons that we have here. So let's say that you wanted to change this icon. You'll just click on that icon, and then here on the right-hand side, we're in settings, and you can choose to update the icon based off of whatever that response is that we're looking for. So let's do something like this. And just clicking in through each, you're able to update. Next up for this button, we can update the copy here of like what the preference or the concern is that we're answering. So maybe we say like acne for me. That's totally fine there. But when it comes to sending through that information, we'll go over here to the settings side to see how that actually works. So you'll see here, this button click is actually going to update the user concerns property. So acne is also known as issue 1 at the moment. Now, we've changed the text here. If we actually want this issue 1 to send through to our email service provider or SMS provider, for example, then we will want to update that issue 1. This is under our properties and audience section. This is where we're able to actually update what that issue 1 would say. So this is giving you the flexibility to update this as it fits with your actual brand and your industry. So here's where we may just change issue 1 to be acne and issue 2 to sync with what our second button is here, and so on. So that's how you'll update your buttons to make sure that you actually are sending that information over to the necessary marketing platform. Moving on in this design, let's take a look at the other frames here that we would want to edit. And for any of the images, you'll just want to click into each of them once again and update that. You can see this screen is now our email frame. And this is where on the right-hand side, you'll see the settings. This is a required field for your email, so you're good to go. And this continue button, once again, hopping into the settings, you'll see it has different actions. So for one, it's going to link to the frame that the visitor should be on next after they've submitted this. So that's our SMS screen. And then they are also going to be submitting this form whenever they click continue. And what that means is that the email is getting sent to where it needs to get sent. So 2 actions there to note, and that looks great. If we wanted to update the button color in at any point, we can click on the button, scroll down here on the right-hand side. We'll see the background color there. And then we can adjust that to be any of our branded colors that match. And you'll see that whenever I hover over this, it turns blue. If we want to update that, it's as simple as going up to the state, hopping into the hover state, and then updating the color. So we can do that for the text whenever we're on hover. And then by going back to default, you can see how that experience would actually look. So we could say our email screen is ready to rock. I'm going to hop back over to the frames area, getting into mobile. Once again, if you click into the mobile field, On the settings side, you'll see the settings related to that mobile. The sign up button is doing the same as before in terms of the button because it's linking to the next frame here. And then it's also submitting this information to wherever it needs to go based on your integration. All right, we'll hop next into the follow-up screen. This is where we're getting into the discount code. And when you go over here into the settings on the right-hand side, you'll find any of your discounts that already exist in there, or you can add a new discount by syncing to your store, or we can add codes manually. So whichever way you want to approach this, the beauty in syncing is that you get to deliver a dynamic code to each user or anyone that may see this, and you're not serving up the same code over and over. Alrighty, we have our continue shopping. This is where if we hop in the settings, you can see this button is just going to close the design. If we did want to get a little bit more strategic about this, we could take them to a page that is really meant to give them maybe a little bit more information, or that is super educational, or even something that is just like a high converting page or meant to keep them on the website longer. So this doesn't have to close. We can just take them to another page. Alrighty, now our last frame is our tab here. So this is important to really recapture that attention, whenever it is that fits with the user. So if I click into this tab, you'll see that we can, on the right-hand side, update any of the colors and settings that we have. You'll notice, like right now, I'm in the tab, but the color over here on the right is white. So what we want to do is actually make sure that we're updating the correct layer that we have here. So we'll use this arrow, which will take us to the main parent container there that we have. And all that means is that we are in the right container to make the change to everything that lives in that container. And you'll see here, we're in the background view. It is that blue color, so we are in the right place. And I just want to change that to yellow to fit with my brand a little bit. Next up, if we do have this tab conflicting with anything else that exists on your website, we really want to consider that so we don't cause any friction while we're on desktop or mobile experiences. So you can update where this tab is located. So let's just say right now it's in the bottom left. I want to take it into we'll do bottom right here. And it is hugging that side a little bit. So I'm going to go back into the settings. I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to add some spacing. So let's just add some margin here on the right-hand side. 16 if I'd like. If I want to sync with what's here at the bottom, I could go with 14. So I'll update that. All right, perfect. So spacing looks good. And this one still has that hover effect, which I could just change by going back into the states if I wanted. Excellent. So all of the frames we've gone through. Next up, you have the viewports that you just want to check out based off of how you designed the desktop is how those will all fall into place. So here's our desktop view. We have our tablet, mobile, and then mobile. So what we want to keep in mind here with the different viewports is, let's say you're updating something on the mobile screen, you will not see that update reflected on desktop. And that is because we are really trying to serve up a dynamic experience. And so we've created this design studio with that in mind, where that mobile experience is probably going to be a lot different than what that desktop experience is like, just due to the space that we have. So if there's any adjustments you want to make on this, let's just say I actually want to make the sizing just a little smaller. We can go let's just go down to 20. If I hop back in desktop, you'll see that was not affected. So just some quick tweaks there to make sure that this fits with however it is that you're serving up that mobile experience. All right, so we'll go ahead and publish this in the top right-hand corner. That means we are happy with our designs. It's a published design that's ready to be inserted into a workflow. We'll go back into the workflow builder, and here we're just going to check out our enrollment trigger. And if you would like to update this to create something a little bit more segmented in your targeting, this is where we would do that. So we're currently targeting all visitors. We can change that segment into targeting maybe a specific or a custom segment that we've made, or we could scroll down here and look into any of the default segments that we provide. So we can change that, for example, targeting customers, something a little bit more segmented. Here on the left-hand side, you'll also see the enrollment triggers. This is all set to provide the best experience, meaning they're not going to see this, time after time on each screen during their session. They would only see this once per session, and we would always wait to see if they're actually completing certain actions before we note that they've completed the actual workflow. So we'll save this. Once I click into the design tile, this is where I'll get into those actions. So these actions listed here is what will take someone into the next step of the workflow, which could be a cart abandoner message via pop-up or an exit intent message. So if someone clicks on any of those buttons that we have listed, like the acne, hyperpigmentation, or if they click the close button or that last SMS submit button, that's where they're going to be noted as having completed the workflow. And so they will no longer be targeted for this to actually see it over and over again. Alrighty. You are good to go with your pop-up in terms of setting it up in the workflow. We can save this. No publishing is happening. We can preview as well. And then from here, you're able to see each of the viewports that you designed, engage with it to see the next step and see how everything is showing up. If I go back into this workflow, this is where once you click publish, you're able to actually go live with this. So we would want to click activate, and from there, testing this on your website and enjoying the experience.